everybody. Welcome to Feedback for the week of December 27th. I'm going to be honest, we didn't expect you to be here right after Christmas, so thank you very much. We're going to try way harder than I think we were normally going to. Because of that, really the only three elves left in Santa's workshop. Oh, Christmas reference.
Oh, wow.
Donnell, or a.k.a. Blackface Jeff Keighley.
Thank you. The one and only.
The one and only Blackface Jeff Keighley.
Donnell Tucker, Don Diablo.
That's me. You can call me any of those names. It's fine.
Okay.
Whoa.
Steve Johnson here as well.
Hey, Internet.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Rob Manuel
Hey.
here as well.
How did I get here?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. And before we get started, guys, I'll have you know there's a little internal discussion going on about who can offend who the most out of these two gentlemen right here in front of me. So throughout the course of this episode, there's going to be a lot of weird crap going on. I ask you to just sit back and enjoy it and know that things got a lot more naked when the cameras weren't rolling.
It's
So,
about to get sexy up in here, Donnell Tucker.
I like it.
I can't wait.
You
Can't
guys,
wait.
you guys should kiss. No?
Kiss no. I think we're good. No, don't kiss me. Don't kiss me.
No.
What?
Don't
No.
kiss me.
Are you uptight?
Again.
Is that like you're
Oh.
uptight?
Oh.
You like?
Somebody's a homophobe.
I know,
I'll say
right?
it, right?
Yeah. Right out in the open.
Come on,
Somebody,
Blackface Jeff Keighley, get over it.
I was just looking for
Bashing
the
gays right on the show. You saw it here first.
I was just looking for the kitchen.
Not
and
doing
I
it.
found my way
Not
here.
doing it.
I am ashamed to be a part of this right now.
Me too.
But aroused. I don't know why that is.
Oh, that's natural.
Because we're men, and it's all men on feedback.
True.
Men.
that. Yes. We're talking the
Very
year in
manly.
review, right? I think it's without a doubt. We had this discussion earlier. After 2008, things. It's not that content really started to suffer, but we just hadn't had the kind of the breadth of content that I think we've had this year, at least over the past couple years. So what I wanted to talk about, just to kind of kick things off, is the biggest surprise in a year of quite a few surprises. Duke Nukem Forever coming out is obviously a really big surprise, but an even bigger surprise than that for me was the fact that the game sucked, right? Which wasn't much of a surprise, but then Randy Pitchford says in interviews, yeah, we know it sucked. We just needed to make this game so that we could eventually make the game that we
That we
want to make.
wanted.
Yeah.
And that refreshing amount of transparency is not something you see out of somebody's mouth. And,
Right.
and I just thought the surprise for me was that a guy like at the head of a studio will come out and say, listen, they kind of let us in on what the kind of the financial machinations of these types of things are. Like, yeah, we bought the license. We had to finish this game because it was already there. But that's not the game we wanted to make. We want to make a Duke Nukem that you're going to see in the future. And I really like that amount of honesty. I think was surprising to me anyway. That's just me. That's my biggest surprise.
No. I mean, it's great that a company can like look at their game and be like, we just need to get this out there.
Right.
I think you're completely right. He wanted to get basically the Duke Nukem name so they can make great Duke Nukem games.
Sure.
But
Because Randy started on the Duke Nukem franchise. That's how he started his
and
video
is
game
actually
career.
he's told us a great story about his wife, who's also a huge Duke Nukem fan, where she was like, "You have to make this game.
Right.
No. You have to make this game."
She's very masculine.
She is very masculine.
A
It's
little
very
sexy,
great.
too.
Yeah.
Men.
But to like, I'm very encouraged to see like what they can actually do now that they've made, this game,
Right.
and just sort of pushed it out there and be like, this is what they were working on.
Right.
This is the game everyone was expecting them like for so long. It was like, this is what you've been waiting for. This isn't good.
Yeah. But they're aware of it, and that's why they showed us a lot of Borderlands 2 at all the all the conventions.
Which I am super excited for.
Oh, looks so great.
I've actually started going back to the first Borderlands and started like leveling my character all the way just to get to 69.
Such a great game.
Wow.
What about you, Mr. Johnson?
Big surprise. No mention of Half-Life 3 or the next episode of Half-Life, right? I mean, none, nothing, no anything. You would have thought a year ago that we would have heard something.
But
we didn't.
they're bringing out Dota 2. They're bringing out another Counter
Yeah,
Strike.
blah, blah, blah.
Somebody
Good
desperately
point. Yeah,
wants
great.
Half-Life 3 announced as soon as possible.
Just anything. Come on, throw us a bone here, people. Come on. Come on.
And is it, at this point, it's going to happen, right? I think it's safe to speculate that this game, if they'd like to make money, then they'll make this game.
Right.
So at this point, it's not, well, the longer that we hold it back, the more the anticipation is going to build. Why haven't they made any sort of announcement?
I mean, it could be a fact that they're working on their engine. I mean, the Source engine was one of the big things one of the big selling points for Half-Life and Half-Life 2. They were like, this is our new engine. This is how everything's going to look. It's basically, this is what other companies look at when they're building their games.
Right.
So when they're, trying to make out the next game, they're thinking, well, we need to make the next best engine that we can,
Right.
build a game around that, and see how that goes.
But to that point, I mean, something like Rainbow Six Patriots, I mean, they said right out of the gate, this is target gameplay. We may never achieve what we're showing you here, but they at least talked about the game they were making to get people excited about it. I think that Valve could do the exact same thing.
Yes.
Just show us some target gameplay.
show us some
we don't
tech
care.
demos,
Dude, show me a dude holding a crowbar
Yeah,
and
give
an
me a
orange
logo.
jumpsuit.
Anything.
Just give me a
Yeah.
poster of that.
They had the guy with the symbol with the 3 in it, just
Right.
to tease everyone. And I think they're going to do that for as long as
Another
they
6
can.
years or so?
Yeah, another 6 years.
I think
The forever
this,
of the Half-Life franchise.
this could be crazy, but maybe a launch title for the next generation of consoles.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Just saying, just throwing it out there, everybody.
And
Yellow-
maybe you never
Manly.
download. Maybe it streams. Maybe the next generation of
there you
consoles
go.
doesn't even have hard. Maybe you just stream everything.
Yeah.
And that's Valve's next thing: cloud service
Oh
gaming.
my God! Now you're talking.
Online.
Now it's getting manly in here.
Sexy
Hold me
tech
to know.
stuff. Right
I
there
got
we
a
go.
button. This is getting too.
Whoa,
Is this
whoa.
for you or?
For everyone.
Let me take a breath.
And what about you, good sir? Your biggest surprise of 2011, besides discovering that Steve Johnson wants you badly.
Biggest.
This is
surpri-
bad. I
that
should
is-
have never ever started
I
this. It
will-
was
I
such
will
a
say
mistake.
That is a big surprise for me. But even a bigger surprise than that would be no news on Kingdom Hearts 3. What's up with that? I mean, literally,
You're playing to the fan base,
right?
Stop it!
Somebody
They're
read
running
all of
out
the exploit
movies
inbox.
in that name.
Make
What
new
else
ones.
they're gonna
I don't care. No,
use?
because it's just they tease us so. Like, let's say if Half-Life 3 had a trailer right after Half-Life 2 came out, right? And everyone's like, "Holy crap, that looks awesome!" And then 10 years goes by and they never spoke a word about it. What are you doing? Like,
But
I'm
trailer-
surprised that there's still no news on anything.
they're-
Not, hey guys, we're working on it. It's literally like, I don't know what it is, even though everybody
Well, no.
is saying, where's Kingdom Hearts 3? That's
Well, no.
one big surprise.
Well, there's the Kingdom Hearts for the 3DS.
No, but see, that's
And
what,
they're
that's what they do. Oh, here's some like changed by
You're
Miss
so affected by this emotionally.
You want
No, because
like the
that's
big
not fair.
console.
You're not giving me
next
what I want. You're
generation,
giving me, like-
3D.
I don't know, man.
You want the Keyblade Wars. Like you're like, give me the Keyblade Wars.
No, it's
I
like
want them
here's
all
a
back.
card game for Kingdom Hearts. It's like, no, I don't want that.
No, it's a real
Give me
life-
what
it's a-
you showed in that trailer, which was like epic cinematic battles. That
You're
were just,
talking about like the guys walking down. There's the 3 people behind
Yes.
them, and there's the Keyblades like all around them.
summons
It's
like millions of Keyblades and then like just shoots it out. I mean, it was.
that was
no,
a
now
DS
let's
game.
go back to card games. Here
No,
you go.
no. You're
Plus
talking-
one on health.
You're talking about
hooray!
There was
it's
that was the PSP game
come
that came out with.
Square Enix. Please just give us a little news. Say, hey, we're still working on it. Don't just wait. Here's a little picture, screenshot. Fine, but nothing. Come on, that's the biggest. Especially since this has been a big year. This is your time to shine. So.
Right. 2 grown men arguing passionately about Disney content.
I know, it's awesome.
I love
Yeah.
every
But what-
single bit of
I'm
that.
not ashamed of it, Blair.
Hold on.
I'm not ashamed
Let me
of it.
ask you a question. What movies should they have in the next Kingdom Hearts?
Okay, they don't even have to make new ones, but
No, not
they
new
could
ones.
include
Where are they going back to? Where are they
Pixar's.
going?
Pixar. Well,
Pixar's is a good call.
that
Come on,
is because
Pixar.
now they have all the
Right?
assets
Yeah.
for that.
Right? You heard it here first. Next Kingdom Hearts gonna have Pixar content.
Here, yeah.
Manly!
Kingdom Hearts
Pfizer.
3
Let's
news
not start
exclusive
this. Let's
on
not,
G4TV.com.
Let's not start this.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
It's not
So
true.
you want
That's a
Kingdom
total
Hearts 3?
lie. I didn't-
Just a
Should've
little
been
bit of
the year.
news. I think that would have really sealed off this year as like the best year.
All right. Well, there's still a couple more days, so maybe they'll see this
You never
episode and
know.
go, we should probably email him directly and let him know that
Santa
something
didn't
is
bring
happening.
me Kingdom
Off the
Hearts
record,
3.
we're working
so.
on it,
Yeah,
Danelle. Please
don't
stop
tell
yelling
anybody.
at us on the internet.
Don't tell anybody. So obviously, there are a lot of great things that happened this year, and we can do 15 shows about all the good stuff this year. But another one of the things that was kind of surprising is some of the bad stuff that happened this year. And maybe it was a little amplified by the fact that video games are now moving $1 billion worth of content in 16 days, and they're just people are paying more attention. So a lot of this stuff is getting reported on a lot more, and the information gets out there a little more than it would. I mean, I know. Typically, you usually have to dig for a lot of this stuff, but it's a lot easier to find this information,
Right.
especially the negative stuff. So I kind of want to talk about the bad things that happened this year, and what that means not only for with the way the games were released this year, but looking forward, how these things will affect maybe games in the next couple of years. So the first thing, the year of the hacker. Obviously, the
Year
PSN
of
massive.
the
I think at some point it was called the biggest like cyber breach in the history of everything,
Well,
which is
It was bad time.
No,
was pretty-
it was terrible, and you're looking at like something that's very new to people who have console games. Like, because beforehand, like you're talking about like your PS2, you're talking about your, you don't have to worry about like hacker breach into your PS2, but suddenly people who didn't have to deal with like worrying about where your credit cards are, worrying about your password, or worry about your gamer tag or what other sensitive information you may have on there, like your address, your full name, who you know, what games you've been, I don't know. But the fact is that it's sort of like, this is the new reality. If you want to have online gaming, if you want to play with your friends, if you want to be able to purchase things online quickly, you have to watch out. You have to be careful. You have to have a strong password. You have to, keep an eye on your credit card, whatever you put on there. Do not tie your bank account to your Xbox or your PS3 or whatever you have.
right. Or if you're like us, I know back in the day when I first discovered porn sites, just make a Hotmail account.
Yeah.
And just tie that to all that stuff. And then you're totally fine. Don't even worry about it. But, one of the things that the Valve forums being hacked
Right.
and, Steam accounts and things like that.
Several websites.
Sure, like a lot of the
right after
websites
that.
and the forums and things like that being hacked. Personally, not as much of a big deal as something of this magnitude. Clearly, the hackers went in, and there weren't a lot of disparaging things done with the information that they took out. But the fact exists
we know about.
that we know
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
and maybe we will
exactly.
find out, over the coming months.
What I always think about these hacker things is like you hear about if you hear about somebody being hacked, then that in a sense means that the hackers didn't do it right. I mean, what about all the ones you don't hear about? I mean, how many people must have our credit cards and all that stuff? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's-
Yeah, because they do that. Like they
Yeah.
steal your information. They don't have to use it. They keep
They can hold on to it for.
and then or either
Or
sell
sell
it
it.
to other hackers that need codes and usernames. And basically, in 10 years, your credit card may be ruined. So, I mean, it's a good point to say, like, as technology gets better and better for gaming, as like downloading games now, it's coming to a problem where you're going to have bigger and devastating hacking like situations.
You know what? Go ahead and wreck your credit yourself. I mean, like, get the jump on all the hackers. Just sign up for as many cards as you can, and then steal all the money and never pay it back.
Done and done.
Right?
Actually, one of the
great
the
idea.
things they did bring up when this whole thing was going on is that a lot of people use the same password over and over
Yeah.
again and tie that into their whatever web account. So whatever you use for your bank account, whatever you use for Netflix, whatever you use for like
all
you
the same
It's all
password.
the same password.
You know, I use my first and last name, but I follow it with the number 116781, and I think that's a really
That's a really
arbitrary
wait,
combination of numbers.
wait, Stephen
Yeah, nobody
Johnson, what did you just do?
Because who would ever pick up that?
Oh my
I was
God,
using those numbers?
they're gonna steal tens of dollars from you now.
I know, exactly. They're going to steal my bad credit rating.
You can have that. I personally think that what it's done is it's exposed people to the harsh realities, like Rob said, of the fact that this stuff can be stolen. And if anything, it makes people more aware of what they're putting online. And it's never a good thing when your account information is compromised. But if anything, I think it's going to force people to be a lot
Smarter.
more secure.
I think people just need to be smarter. People need to be educated. People just don't be stupid.
Yeah. Good point, Rob.
Don't be
People
stupid.
just
Here's a
don't
little
be
tip.
stupid.
Don't be
Just don't be
stupid.
Don't be
stupid.
stupid.
All right.
And
TM.
and then another, I'm looking forward to Nintendo's press conference next
That's
year
going to be a good one.
at E3 because for the first time in a very long time, Nintendo has some negative things to report on. Hardware sales falling far below expectations, sales in general dropping off. I would say mind share being lost.
Very, very, and that's huge.
Very much so. And then the big talk about Miyamoto, and I know you've covered a lot of this Nintendo stuff in
Yes.
detail. So kind of walk us through what Nintendo's gone through this year.
It has been just a crappy year from Nintendo, like you said. I think, they say you should never apologize when you start a speech in public speaking, but maybe Nintendo at this E3 could stand up and offer a little bit of apology. I mean, first there was the launch of the 3DS, which did not go as well as they expected or wanted, because the launch lineup wasn't there and the console itself or the device itself was very expensive. Then the Wii U announcement at E3, which, again, maybe the Wii U is the most awesome thing in the world, but nobody really knows because it was so muddled the way they showed it off and the way they announced it that everybody kind of left the thing going, I don't understand. Is that a new controller? Is it a new console? Why should I care about it again? And they really haven't even answered those questions yet.
I mean, look, Adam Sessler, I'll admit it. I know, guys. I read the message board. Adam is way smarter than me. I understand that. However, Adam and I both had Reggie on the Nintendo press conference. We had a 20-minute interview with Reggie when they announced the Wii U.
Right.
As soon as he left, we both looked at each other and said, "What the what is the Wii U?" And to this day, Adam Sessler still doesn't know what it means, which means that nobody knows what it means because he's so smart.
It can project it's going to be on a screen, but then
But
it
it's
can be
also-
on
you
the
can carry it.
pad.
Right.
But you could also use the pad to play with the games on the screen. But what if you're playing off the pad? Do you still need the pad? Do you need a
Lost me.
smaller pad
Slower.
to play off the games on the
Wait,
screen?
dude,
with
I
the
need to write this
pad?
down.
Like, I need a larger TV to play the game that's on the pad that's coming off my other TV.
Yeah, what is
so that I
what
can see
happens
it
to
better.
that? And honestly, and look, and in defense of Nintendo, which is not something that comes out of my mouth often, but you know, in previous years, if they said just trust us, I would, because they
Really?
always found a way. When the motion control stuff came out, I was like, what? And then it really did introduce a new way to experience gameplay in your house. But I truly, at this point with this year, I don't think people are trusting them. Like you said, I think
agree.
that there needs to be, and Reggie always comes out, and it's easy to be transparent when you're on top. And it's easy to be
Right,
transparent when
Yeah.
you say, we're going to make money this year.
Right.
That's our focus because they continue to make money. But this year, they need to be really honest about what their decision-making is. And it'll be interesting to see if they even do that this year.
And, you know, when the most recent piece of Nintendo bad news about Shigeru Miyamoto saying in an interview that he was using the word retiring
Yeah.
to describe the way his position was changing within Nintendo, just seems to highlight the muddled nature of the messages they're getting out as much as anything else. In that Shiggy says, I'm retiring to train people more and work on smaller games. Nintendo responds with a statement saying, well, no, his role's not changing at all. Because
Nobody told us that.
So, it's very easy to look at the Wii U and look at this and look at the crazy launch of the 3DS and just go, well, what are they doing? Like, what's happening over there?
Right.
So,
And we can't blame this
don't know.
to a lost in translation type situation because the dude has a fine grasp of the English language.
It's
He
true.
legitimately said when he was trying to communicate what he was doing,
Right.
in his mind, he is retiring from what his role has been for a number of years, and that has been, you know, the creative driving force behind a lot of their first, you know, their in-house development.
the translator during the interview was a long-time translator.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it
Who's had
wasn't-
for quite
yeah,
some
exactly. So
a number of years.
They knew. They
so
must
it's not
have
like
known.
it's not like the new guy who just like comes aboard.
Right?
and
Yeah,
just-
who
they-
barely
Oh.
knows Japanese. Yeah.
Retirement and taking a vacation, two different things. Oh, it's only my first week.
Oh, he was
man.
so sorry. Taking a nap.
Shoot. Messed up again.
But you know, this is a big story, and I know we talked about this in the meeting before we even did this, before we shot this podcast. And Donnell, you know, and a lot of people are going to get angry about this, but how big a news is this? And I know we live in a world where, you know, a guy like Cliff Bleszinski can be representative of Epic Games as a whole. I know on the X-Play front, and Rob's familiar with this, we've had a lot of companies reach out to us and say, listen, in the coming year, let's try to kind of build these Cliff Bleszinskis. Like, we want somebody to be the face of our company. Let's Bleszinski people, which is a verb that
Whoa.
nobody will ever use besides this moment.
There was a
got
moment.
Blazinski.
So
There was a moment in college that happened to me.
but it's
It's in an experimental phase. I don't really like to talk about it, but I got Blazinski.
let's just say that.
Wow.
Thank God camera phones didn't exist back then. Things would be bad for me. But
That's a
you know,
Facebook status.
I have conflicting feelings about this because, on the one hand, I think it is important to have the face of a company like Cliff has become. I know Ken Levine's probably going to be pushed forward a little bit more for Infinite, you know, in the coming months. But for a guy like Miyamoto, I only use this as an example. Super Mario 3D Land could not have been more representative of this man's design philosophy, and a lot of people slept on that game because Nintendo as a whole, like we said, is losing a ton of market share. So how big of a deal is this? Whether he steps away from the company completely or takes a step back, how important is that really to outside of the shareholders? Because we did see that the shares dropped, but that's market reaction. I'm talking about consumers. What does that mean for the you know, the video game buying public?
It's very important to have a face connected to a company. It's I mean, to bring back to the market of advertising, it's in all of our products. Like Tony the Tiger, that's a face
Right.
that goes along with Frosted Flakes. So it's very important to have a person, either it's a tiger or actual, human being, it's very important to be connected to
Actual tiger.
No, I'm telling you, you might think I'm crazy. Think about this, but I'm on the point on this.
No,
one.
no, no.
But
It's a recognizable, like, it's something that, like, 50 feet away, all of a sudden, boom,
100%.
turns into a
you gotta
title.
think because we,
I agree with that
mean,
100%.
we see a lot of
Yeah, but I don't know. For
ads. We see a
Nintendo-
lot of product placements, but the ones that always work is that if you recognize an icon of somebody that you're like, oh yeah, like in a movie or an actor, right? You have a favorite actor. You're gonna probably go see that movie not because of the movie, but mostly of just like that actor's hilarious. Jonah Hill is hilarious. I'm gonna go see
Whoa,
every
I
movie.
think that was the first time
So-
that was ever said.
maybe, maybe.
He
But-
hasn't seen any of the Thin Jonah stuff. Though. That's
So
what the problem is.
Nintendo is holding on to Miyamoto. Like they
Sure.
still want to use his face.
Right, but you know, Wii Music is a great example of, you know, and I was, you know, this was a number of years ago because I wasn't at G4 yet, but they had this massive press push where they flew people. I went to Japan to play like a virtual saxophone with Miyamoto. Like the press push was there. Nintendo was the face of that game. Nobody played it.
Yeah.
And why is that?
But think about if he didn't have like Miyamoto behind that, and it was just
Like
Nintendo
you-
Wii Music.
Well, they wouldn't have done it,
nobody
though.
You
would
wouldn't
have-
even be talking about it.
Yeah, but it would be like nobody would even talk like you said, nobody would even talk about
Yeah,
it. It would
it's
be even lower. So it's very crucial for them to still have Miyamoto.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Miyamoto feels like he doesn't want to be in that position anymore. He wants
Sure.
to just create games for his wife, you know, because that's who he kind of makes games for now. I kind of feel like he just likes making creative, innovating ideas. Back in the days when video games were about that, where it's just, hey, I have this idea, let's make this video game.
Right.
Now today it's about, well, let's see if it, will it make money? There's like a certain formula to make an okay game. So it's like there's no innovation in video games. Kind of, it's dying down. We now are settling into this. If you have this kind of gameplay, it will do this amount of money.
Sure.
So I think Miyamoto just doesn't want to do that anymore, and he wants to get off of it. Make
Completely.
like a heartbeat game.
I think he's gotten into a position where he finds himself like too wrapped up in the corporate structure where it's like you have to have this, and this in order to put out the game. I think with him saying like, I want to put out smaller games that don't take forever to put out, like games you can turn around in a year, games you can download, games that are creative, games that are going to appeal to maybe not a mass market, but to an audience that he's looking for. Like as soon as he like talked about that, as soon as he was saying, this is what I want to do. Like it was like he's going indie.
right.
He wants to make
Yeah,
indie
but
I think
games.
he really
okay,
likes.
let's
wants
say he
to-
does go indie, and he's not the creative force behind all of Nintendo's big games. How does that affect Nintendo's? the
100%.
kinds
I
of
mean,
games they
too,
put out,
and
you know,
that's
like-
that's the big question. And I'm playing devil's advocate here. Like that man's smile has launched 1,000 games for me. Like I
Right.
mean,
See? Thank
he
you.
is the guy that I grew up. I grew up playing his games.
Completely.
But you know, they need to make money. And to your point, if he makes these smaller, you know, like kind of minimal market appeal games. Why is Nintendo so intent on holding on to him being the face if he doesn't want to even make those games? You know,
Because
what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying.
I don't know how Nintendo thinks that they're marketing anything or marketing to like a mass group. Like once again, Mario for the 3DS, absolutely fantastic,
Right.
amazing game. How many people are playing it? How
Yeah.
many people actually get their hands on it? Another game that actually came up, 3DS now has a downloadable market that like no one knows about. It's like this secret thing, and there's a great game on it called Pushmo, which is sort of like Catherine without the infidelity. Where
I don't know if I like that very much.
I enjoyed the infidelity.
I like feeling bad
but
about the
it's
decisions I make
it's
in
this
games.
great $7 puzzle game that you can play like time and time again. No one's playing it. No one knows about it. I have a feeling like hopefully he sheds some light on these downloadable games. Hopefully like that's their new market. Hopefully Nintendo is like, you know what's really going to sell people? Smaller, $7, $10, $15, maybe even $1 games that people can get on their 3DS. And, sell 3DSs that way. Sell 3DSs like you never have to go to a store ever again. Download the games here for free.
See, and I think that in order for them to do that, they're going to have to be very honest about
Of course.
what their intentions are. I know you've been covering Nintendo all year, Steve.
Yes.
What have you seen trending as far? We've seen them fail on so many levels. Have you seen them? But in that regard, though, have you seen them be a little more honest about what their problems are? Because you, like I said, you've been covering, you've
know,
been reaching out to these people
not-
and trying to cover these stories.
Honestly, really not yet. I mean, the price drop, the very fast price drop on the 3DS, I think, is indicative of maybe a new style that, like, as soon as it wasn't working, they were like, you know what, we got to cut the price right now. Let's do it right now.
Yeah, right.
And that kind of worked okay. I mean, the system's really cool, and people started buying it once the price was somehow reasonable. And so maybe we'll see them responding as if everything they crap isn't gold.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What?
Like maybe
What are
they'll
you
start-
saying?
because they tended, like, for a while, I think they got on that thing where they were printing money with everything they put out, and I think now they understand that it's not going to work with certain things. That if the market doesn't want something like the Wii U, it's just not going to work. Like
Right.
it's not the name Nintendo is
You-
not
you
going to
have
make
to-
people buy whatever they
You
put
have
out.
to sell more than just hardware. You have to sell software
Exactly.
to keep it moving,
Yeah.
keep it going.
Right.
So, but as for whether we'll see that or not, I don't know. I mean, I'm counting on Nintendo having a resurgence, but I don't know how much I'm counting on it.
Right. I mean, look, it's a global company, and it's no big secret that Japan and America, at least on the PR side of things, there's always a huge disconnect
Right.
between messaging between those two countries. I think the best way for them to do it is to sit down and talk about what everybody wants to hear. You know what I mean? And not like, what does the Japanese audience need to hear? What does the American audience need to hear? I think they just need to start talking about, like you said, ways that they can improve the way that they're distributing their content
Right.
and focus on the games that they do make, because even a game like Skyward Sword, which was obviously like they put a lot of effort into that game.
Right.
And I know the sales figures haven't been terrible, but it's not the console movers of days gone past, they don't have that right now. And so it'll be interesting to see where they go. I think to your point, I'm glad that you brought this up about, games that could potentially be only $1 at launch. Another one of the interesting stories this year is the fact that the free-to-play games crushed it. And I know free-to-play games, that in and of itself should indicate that, yes, of course people are going to play them because they're free to play. But not necessarily that they did really well, but the amount of money made on these free games is absolutely staggering. And this is something we saw all year.
Yeah, pretty much it's a model that it's been used in the past. I mean, we've seen it on sites where it's like Naruto versus Bleach, MMO, free to play, or like Sexy Dragon Girls MMO. It's like,
I still
whoa.
play that. I'm like level 35.
All right, I'm clicking on this, and it's just a bunch of 2D characters, and it's low budget.
Right.
Nowadays, we have big MMOs like League of Legends, EVE Online, EverQuest, DC Universe Online, City of Heroes Online. Like these were
APB went free to play.
Went free to play too. These were all subscription based MMOs. You got to charge every month, and people expected a quality type of game. I mean, but now it's changing into now. It's like, you know what, free to play games can be quite as big as subscription based. And I went through the forums to see what people were thinking about free to play. One particular person said, I was a sub only kind of guy until recently. I thought there was no way I would have fun with free to play games because the games were low budget. I was wrong. I was having so much fun playing League of Legends, and you don't need to pay to play.
Nah.
I ended up buying characters only because I wanted to play mages, but I really
Amen,
didn't have
brother.
to. I looked at it this
Sing
way.
it.
I paid for the
Let it
software
out.
for other games. I paid sub fees. Why not contribute to the upkeep of servers and development of games? Trust me, I hated the idea of free-to-play games. Now, not so much. So it's a definitely
It's a great model. It's a great. I mean, League of Legends started out with free to play, and and the things that you buy in League of Legends, like you don't buy power, you don't buy like Staff of Awesomeness plus 100, or
Yes.
you don't buy levels. You buy characters that you can play. So they have like a billion characters.
Yes.
And there's only so many like free characters that you can play at a time, and they switch them out. But you can pay to play as the character you really like, and you can also pay to get skins for the character. And that's it. That's like everything that that you buy for in this game, and they're just incredible. Like it is one of the biggest things that every convention we go to, every time I meet with like another developer or something, like they're like, oh, I'm playing League of Legends. What are you doing today? Playing League of Legends. They come out with Dominion, which was this year, and was like, playing League of Legends.
Yep.
We're going to completely revolutionize how everything goes. And it's like
So you think it's safe to say that League of Legends and not something like Farmville is the model that these companies should be following
Oh,
if
yeah.
they're
Oh,
starting
yeah.
to roll out free to play content.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
So you do.
for sure.
Okay.
The model that you don't want to go on is a particular model that it's not used anymore, but EVE Online had it's subscription based, but what I'm using is like free to play somehow. Like you said, you can buy items or buy awesome weapons and stuff. EVE Online had this particular store where it was too expensive, like a golden monocle for like $50, $60 for clothes. It was very like
You've
people
seen
were
no
going
problem with that
crazy.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
no, I mean,
and I
look,
understand like
Golden monocle.
I
That
under-
sounds amazing.
No, but I understand like how
I'm
Steven says like
independently
this is
wealthy.
like the real world.
So golden
you know?
monocles are very, very common in my social circles.
But it was extremely expensive.
I'd
Hated
have one
it.
in right now,
Completely
but
worth it.
somebody said something earlier that shocked me, and I opened my eyes so wide that my monocle
fell
fell
out.
out.
This is why they put those side things on the glasses and stays on.
But it's definitely you got to watch out for that. But I kind of also agree with Steven. Like, look, if there's a staff of awesomeness that's 100+ and I can buy it because I'm richer than everybody, I kind of feel like
Wait, you're agreeing that I said that?
yeah, 'cause you said that.
I agree that you said
You
this
were
thing that you
enabling him to
didn't
be
say.
this monster that.
I agree.
Wait, I never said I.
You know, Steven
No, you
Johnson.
said you were richer and better than
No,
everybody,
but I
according
didn't.
to Donnell.
But I wasn't.
Steven Johnson was
Look at
right
it
when he
again.
said we should eat the poor.
I know that the ugly poor people aren't going to understand this comment,
Look,
but
I'm not saying we should kill the poor people. I'm just saying, well, I'm better than them. That's all I'm saying, and I think you guys are misconstruing it.
But my question is, okay, going along with that, Diablo has actually announced that they're going to
have,
have
yeah.
like a marketplace where you can actually buy and sell items there.
That
What's your feeling on that?
Well, that because they're using in-game money that can actually be turned out to be real money, and that's like gold farming or other ways of exploiting the system where you hire a bunch of people to just farm items and levels or characters, and you sell it. And League of Legends has that too, where it has the in-game currency can be worth actual money, and so you can make like a profit off.
What's
off
weird
that.
is that like I wonder how economically the influx of gold farmers will affect the
Yeah,
markets within.
exactly.
I
Because
Diablo
that's what
3.
that's what happened to Eve. There were so much money going through, and like Eve is like a huge like economic game.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of it. And so, like, to buy a monocle for $50 or $5,000,
Yeah.
like that's just what happens.
It has its own stocks. I mean,
Yes.
that's why it goes up and down. But that's the bad thing about it is that if it's too expensive, nobody's going to buy it. That means those people who are grinding, they can't sell their stuff.
Right.
So then they say we're out of here. It's
Yeah,
kind of
but-
like it's
but
weird. It's like
but-
the real life like
But
market.
that's not a if the market is not controlled by outside forces like the people who make the game, then the prices of things would drop as people had more money. Or wait, no, that's not correct. They would go up as people.
you don't know about
Completely
any.
wrong.
You're just so rich.
Yeah,
You've never had to think about this a day in your life.
I don't know what money is.
Those words coming out of your mouth,
There
you
goes
would
the
also
monocle.
thought them at the
Somebody
moment that
once
they were coming out of your
mentioned-
mouth for the
somebody-
first time ever.
Somebody
Wow.
once mentioned that they had a wallet, and I didn't even know what that was.
the reason, the reason
How
why
do
the
you
price
even-
went up is because the demand wasn't there because there was
Right.
nobody
Right.
wanted that, so
Well-
the prices went up. It's like stock,
All right.
and there's
Okay.
no the users.
I'm
and
not-
the
let's
community
not
are
get into
controlling
a
it.
discussion.
Just go
of
back to having other
macroeconomics
people pay your
because-
bills, and you'll be totally fine. I think what we can.
Because
It's
if nobody
safe to
wants
say.
something, the price doesn't go up. It's the other way around.
I know. I'm an oil magnate.
Yeah, that's what I'm
and I
saying.
understand
If
completely with
everybody
this.
wants something, the price
Yeah.
goes up.
I think regardless of what the market does in these virtual games, I think it's safe to say that that free to play is not only here to stay, but there have been a number of successful business models that have been established that I
Completely.
think are going to be
Completely.
implemented here in the future. Another thing that I found very interesting, and Donnell, I just wanted to talk to you quickly about this before we move on to our next discussion.
Go for it.
The I don't want to say explosion of esports,
Boom.
but they've become quite successful over the course of the
yeah.
year. And we've been covering MLG. I mean, I've been going to MLG tournaments for a number of years, and attendance there has always been pretty good, right? Because there are a number of people who are interested in watching it in person, but I think they've either found a way to present it online in a manner that's entertaining to people, or maybe the games themselves have gotten more exciting to watch. But esports really has exploded into a legitimate form of entertainment this year.
Definitely. It's other than MLG, Evo 2011, which is the biggest fighting tournament like Marvel vs. Capcom, Street Fighter 4. That has gotten bigger every year, and it's definitely. I think anytime there's like a new an event of like a new streaming tournaments of gaming, a lot of people are like, why do I want to sit there and watch it? And it could be because the games are getting more exciting, but I think it's just the model that they're developing around that, adding commentaries, hyping it up a lot more, and definitely the community helping out. But it's definitely gotten where when I went to Evo in Las Vegas, that whole hall was packed. It was from the stage to the door. And it was like, why aren't we covering this on TV? Like, it shouldn't just be online. It should be on TV. And I know that we've done that before in the past that we tried and didn't work. Because, again, it was that old model. We didn't know it was brand new. We don't know what this is. And a lot of people didn't know either. I think now people are understanding what it is and how exciting it can be. That esports is just going to get bigger and bigger every year, including MLG.
Right.
Like, you're going to start seeing people being famous off of that. Like, oh my God, T-Square. He's amazing.
Right.
Have you seen that video where he just headshots 3 people? And you got to see it. Go to G4TV.com. You'll be amazed.
Well, outside of us covering it, because this is something that we're going to cover anyway, right? Like, do you see them getting to a point where it's enough? They have enough appeal to a mainstream audience to where you see an ESPN. I don't want to even make a joke about like Deportes or ESPN3, but like an ESPN2, because they tend to run not irrelevant sporting events, but just things that would appeal to a much more select audience. Do you see something like ESPN covering?
I do see it. And I know it's like, that's funny, like seeing all these professional like suits and they're like, yeah, T-Square made a 2-point increase on his percentage of accuracy, but whatever. But it's still, though, there's only like 2 big events that are happening that really gets a lot of people. I mean, there's tons of events going throughout this whole year. No one really knows about it. A lot of new events popping up. So it still needs a little bit more time for being covered throughout like the whole year.
Right. And then to you guys, if you're flipping through the channels, do you stop on something like this? Do you say, hey, this is pretty interesting, I'll watch this for a while?
I watched the Evo this year. I watched it last year as well, but it's something that's very easy to understand. You don't have to flip, it's not like you're having to follow a lot of things. Like, everything that you need to know is happening on screen. Even if you can't follow everything, even if, like, I don't know how many frames this move takes. Which is something they all know. I can still be like, wow, that was absolutely amazing. Like, whatever he just did, I could never do in my wildest dreams. But it was just, and sort of like, there is a story there. Like, this year, I think for Evo, there was an American contender who was in the losers bracket for a bit, and he beats Daigo, or he beats.
I think he could have beat
Daigo. Like he basically, he was in a loser's bracket. All he needed was like 1 loss and he's out of there. He's like going home. Daigo, like the guy who's going to take it all home. The guy who is like the favorite, like comes in.
This is like a tune-up match for him.
This is going to be like, whatever, just drop the mic now.
Right.
Beats him.
Right. And then I assume continues through the loser's bracket, goes into the winner's bracket.
The guy who wins
the whole thing.
Daigo, he has to face him. Right afterward. He doesn't even move from his seat.
He just stays there.
He just
Van
stays
Damme
there.
and
Bam.
Bolo Young and Bloodsport.
That guy. Then has to go against the champion who beat all of them. And then he just gets his ass handed to him. But before then,
reality comes crashing down on him at some point.
Before then, it was absolutely amazing. Like, it was like, oh my, this could be it. He could completely take it off. And you do get wrapped up into the game. Like, you get wrapped up more than just like the game itself, like the people behind the game, which I think is,
they need to focus on that more. Yeah, start creating these characters.
I mean, it's just like you going into it. It's like, oh, that's my boy, or that, like, I really like the way he uses his character. Or I really like this guy.
Definitely. I mean, as more people get to know more about the fighting scene, and also just first-person shooters for Halo, and Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. They would need to know like who this person is and follow them, and that's why we have a lot of social media so you can keep up. with
Sure.
But how many years though? I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. How many years have I been hearing about how esports is going to take off?
Yeah,
and everybody's going to be like the Super Bowl, and it's going to be like professional sports, and it's just starting now, and you're going to see it. It's happening in Korea. It's going to happen here, and it's going to be here, and then it never actually does.
But I think
it always remains this cult thing that a few people are into, but not everybody.
No, completely. And they're still looking for the recipe. They're still looking for the magic formula to two guys playing video games into something you would watch.
That's the thing is the best that they can hope for is to make people want to play video games and turn it off. Like 'cause that's what I would think. I'd be like, oh, that was, like, fun.
You're
Let
so
me do
wealthy
that.
you don't change the channel.
Yeah.
in your
Oh no!
home
It's
anyway,
like,
so
I
what do
just
you
buy
care?
a new TV.
Your butt.
Yeah.
Buy a new
I've got
TV
a
that's on a
TV for
different
every
channel.
single cable channel.
Yeah. And I
on
walk
the
from
planet.
room to room. And that's how I flip through the channel.
Right.
That's just how I do it.
Yeah. I mean, I
So-
tend to agree with Steve in that, we've heard about this for a number of
Yeah,
years
sure.
now, but
No.
we're also in the industry. I think we're far enough removed from the general consumer, just the viewing public, that it probably is a little more exciting to people. I mean, a number of years ago, the same thing could be said about poker, right?
Right.
And then
Right, that's
they
true,
invented
yeah.
they invented the whole card cam,
And
and
that-
suddenly poker became something everybody didn't want to watch.
That's
So
true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
let's just say, I get excited about watching this stuff. I do know they're incredibly talented people. I hope they take off.
Yeah.
But either way, more people I think were engaged, and so it'll be interesting to see if that continues to trend upward in the future. And then one more thing before we get into the fan feedback stuff. Obviously, X Play's Game of the Year, Best of the Year stuff came out. A number of not so surprising wins, but I wanted to just talk quickly about one category that I know Epic was incredibly proud of. In a year of the most successful shooters ever, Gears of War 3 won Best Shooter on the show. And we had Cliff Bleszinski on to receive the award. And he said, out of everything that we've won and the fact that my franchise has made $1 billion for the 360, which I'm sure translates to a lot of nice bonus checks for him
Probably.
at the end of the year.
He might
was-
be almost as rich as me, but probably not.
I highly doubt
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I highly doubt that. But I think that he said, I'm most proud of this award because people recognized us for a shooter. We expected maybe best multiplayer, or for that matter, if there was a category for best support of your game for the year after it came out, because they've got a ton of great stuff lined up for Gears of War 3. But Gears of War 3 won best shooter, and I know this wasn't like the hardest thing for us to vote on. Like, people were like, actually, this is a pretty impressive shooter. And your thoughts on that? I mean, what do you think that was the right decision on our part? Would you have gone with another game?
I'm trying to think of what did I pick? As I'm looking on it, it was competing against Battlefield 3, Modern Warfare 3, Rage,
Right.
Resistance 3. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say because I felt like it was a hard choice. I feel
Sure.
like this is a hard choice for me because every one of them I felt like they were a good shooter.
Yeah.
But what stand out? For you guys, what made Gears of War 3 stand out?
The whole package. I mean, it was just perfectly put together. Like, there's no flaw you can point to in it really and go, well, what about that? Like you could with all the other games that we talked about. You could say, well, Rage, it was great, but what about like the way
then it
ended? And you can do that with all the other games, but
Right.
except not Gears 3.
For me, it was really Gears 2 didn't really hit home for me like it should have. And then when I picked up Gears 3, it was okay. This is right. This is the way it should be. It felt like more like a maturing of the series rather than like maybe a rehashing. Like they could have so easily been like, here, let's just push something out. But this felt like refined. It felt like they put a lot of thought into it, like they had fixed a lot of things that maybe people were complaining about, and even improved things that people were not complaining about.
Right. I mean, this is one of the most, if not the most contentious award we're going to have.
Completely.
I mean, obviously people are going to tend to disagree with this, but I think that was, the deciding factor for a lot of people in that one of the things they did, which I thought was really smart, and Cliff to this day does not admit that the beta they ran forever, that he's like, no, it wasn't just to test to see what works and what doesn't. But
No.
I disagree with you, sir. It totally was. But they put the game out there before it was really finished and asked the fans what they needed to do different, and they implemented a lot of that stuff. But like you said, there was an evolution in that franchise. Whereas I thought Modern Warfare 3 and Battlefield 3 were fine shooters,
Amazing.
But if you were to put them, let's say somebody that doesn't play a lot of games, if two people played those games, Battlefield 2 or Modern Warfare 2 and then played Modern Warfare 3, a lot of people would maybe have a hard time outside of the multiplayer aspects telling a difference in what was going on in the single player campaign. Whereas if you put Gears 2 up against Gears 3, clearly there are a lot of things that have changed in that game. And that level of innovation, I think, is really going to start deciding who wins these awards in the future. Because like you said, we've settled into this pattern of what works and what doesn't. And there's always room for innovation. But people are going to say, hey, this game works the way it is. Let's make another one of these games. And so I think that Gears 3 winning is going to do a lot for the industry as a whole, just trying to innovate within, if our awards actually mean something to them, which it seems like they do.
Hopefully.
I think that it's going to, mean a lot to the industry as far as innovation is concerned.
Sure.
And that's just my thoughts on it.
Good point.
You know, at least, and again,
Good
we just
thoughts.
want to take credit for everything on this show.
Oh, as you should.
Just like when we speculate for random stuff and hope that it comes true.
Portal 2 got robbed for Game of the Year.
I know.
So Rob for Game of the Year. Rob. Portal 2. Rob.
Hey,
Game of the
you
Year.
know,
Game of the Year.
There's
Rob.
an argument to be made about everything.
Robbery.
Super Mario 3D Land could have been robbed too.
That's true.
They were just. It was a great game, a great year for gamers.
It
At the end of
really
the day,
was. I mean, anytime that you're having serious arguments about which of these incredible games is the most awesome,
most incredible.
this game is more awesome than that game is awesome.
is not nearly as awesome as my game.
And it was, and we could never really get into who got what vote, but I can say that the Game of the Year vote this year was the closest it's been,
yeah.
at least since I've started working here
wow.
5
Yeah,
years ago. I mean, it was, you know,
It was bloody.
yeah, and what's funny
There were
is
actual fistfights.
There was
Yeah.
actual fistfights.
every game got at least one vote. It was really, really impressive to see such a broad spectrum of games represented, and like games like Super Mario 3D Land got a
yeah,
vote over
completely.
Skyrim, which was it's just a good year for gamers as a whole. And speaking of those gamers,
Yay.
let's do a couple of fan feedback questions. Aeon of Doom 360 says, "What game do you think was the hidden gem of the year that everyone should have checked out but ended up overlooking instead?" Well, that's a good question. I would have to say, I mean, we talk about it all the time on the show, but I don't think enough people play Dark Souls. And I know that's like, it really is like the hardest effing game in the world. And I get that it's not for everybody, but if you're somebody who wants to experience just how challenging this medium can be, this is the game. Like, games that you think are hard are not really that hard compared to the way that games could be hard. And
If you want a good kick to the crotch.
yeah, if you just want, I mean, it's so fucking hard, but
Good kick to the crotch.
you know, it's a hidden gem in that, you know, as much as Demon Souls was a hidden gem, and that
Right.
sold like 3 million copies, so it's not really that hidden. But Dark Souls is going to take a while, I think, to gain its audience, and I think people are going to start playing it a lot more, you know, after Mass Effect 3 comes out and all those other games that we have in 2012. But I thought Dark Souls was, for me, it was like my hidden gem of the year, even though I expected it, which is kind of contradictory. But don't know what about
Not
you.
so hidden.
Interesting. I'm going to pick a very hidden game that I don't think any of you guys have even heard of it.
Ooh, Rob Manuel,
This
the challenge.
This surprised me because I thought it was going to be a bad game, but I play it anyways. Is Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 2.
Okay, you made that up. That's
Nope.
why nobody's
No,
played
no,
it.
no.
Nope.
I saw
Nope.
that box, and I had to type that all out.
Very true. Here's the thing. I love anime. I watch tons of anime shows, and I play the games, and they all suck. I mean, it's kind of like a watch. Here's just for the anime fans. And I was expecting this one to be the same, but actually, I was like, this is actually, I'm enjoying it. Like, it's taking me through the story arc of the series, but a little twist to it, and then adding a fun cinematic and intense battles with certain characters. So for anybody who wants to get into anime or get into Naruto, I would really check out this game. Number 2, don't get number 1. Number 2 is the one for you. So Cyber Connect 2 was the development team, and they actually did a really good job.
Okay.
They really impressed me.
Can you do all the fans a favor and tweet out that title? Is that less than 140 characters, that title? Because if it is, you're
Yeah,
going to need...
I think so.
Just put that up on the website so
Yeah.
people know where to find that.
They
that
can.
thing.
I actually made a top 3 cinematic battles in Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 2. Just gotta take a
Wow.
breath.
Which, again, way
that's
better than one,
impressive.
guys. Don't get one.
Don't get one. Remember, number 2. All
right,
You
fair
can
enough.
check it out. We have you can search it. We have a post that highlights 3 epic battles. Check them out. You're gonna be like, wow, that was pretty awesome.
Okay.
And you're gonna play the game. Now, it's not a good fighting competitive game, but it's for a cinematic and a story mode experience. Great.
All right. Steve Johnson.
Rocksmith.
Ah.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
like it.
hidden.
Good call.
It's just so
No, it's
niche that it's the game that teaches you how to actually play guitar,
There you
and it's not hidden, but only of interest to a small number of people. But it's really, really cool. Even if you've never played guitar, it's really well put together, well made, polished, and made with great care and love. And it's a fantastic game that I think a lot of people didn't get when it came out because it got sort of mixed reviews. Some people really didn't like it. We gave it 4 out of 5. But I don't think people really understood what it was about.
And you can actually play with a real guitar.
You play with your guitar, not some fake guitar, but any electric guitar you can play with, and it will teach you how to play like riff guitar. It's really cool. I mean, if you don't want to learn to play guitar, it's the worst game in the world. Like
it's the worst recommendation I could possibly give.
But if you want to
But
play
I'm
guitar,
rich, so
it's awesome. And because I have so many expensive guitars,
because he's so rich.
because I'm so rich, I needed some way to learn to play them. And then I gave the game to one of my people, and he learned to play the
What do you
guitar
mean,
for me.
I like that.
So now I can just tell him, play Satisfaction, and
Wow.
He does it
he
for
will
you.
play it, and he learned through Rocksmith.
Fancy.
And then you go, look, I'm playing.
Yeah. Well, and then if he
Look at
really
me.
wants to experience it the Steve Johnson way, he actually hires Slash to come behind him
There it
and
is.
just hold his hands and do it. You were just such a wasteful man.
Well, you know,
The stuff you do with your money is embarrassing.
It's kind of
call it a
romantic.
waste. I call it Saturday night.
Rob, what about you?
I want Slash to hold me. For me, it was there's a ton of great games that I think people overlook all the time. But for probably one of the top games is The Binding of Isaac, which was a PC title game made by half of Team Meat, who made Super Meat Boy. So this is basically the Super Meat Boy of Legend of Zelda.
Okay.
As the story goes, you
A
are
tale as old as time.
it's true. You are a small 10-year-old boy whose mother hears the voice of God and tells her to kill you in order to prove her love to him. You find a trapdoor into the basement, and you have to get through 5 levels of a roguelike dungeon in order to escape. And you can only fight enemies with your tears.
Wow.
Wow, you're really creeping me out, right?
Any one of those sentences would have sold that game, but collectively.
And you're naked.
Wait, what?
Okay.
And it's great because it is randomly generated. There's so many items and so many weapons that every time you play the game, that it's going to be a completely new experience. It has this very, as you can probably already tell, a very twisted sort of humor to it. But it is hardcore. Like, you die in the dungeon, you are dead. That is it. You do not sit. There is no save points. That is nice try. Let's go at it again. It is a game that you can play over and over and over again, and it actually unlocks new content as you play it over and over. And every time you beat it, you get something new. He's already put out like new content for it, so new weapons, new items. Like, there's so much to this game and so much to explore, and there's so many things that are just like, oh, what am I fighting? Oh God, oh, this is disgusting. Let's see what the next room's like. But it is absolutely an amazing game, and everyone should play it. And you can check out that game as well as the list. I think I have about 20, 30 games listed now on my indie game column for the past couple of weeks. So this week, or a couple of weeks ago, was PC. I have Xbox Live games that you probably didn't play, as well as Xbox indie games that you probably didn't play as well.
All right. Well, thank you for that. All of that graphic picture.
li-
that you
yeah,
just
it was
painted.
like,
Yeah, there's a lot. I
wow,
mean, I've done a
seen
lot
the
of stuff
Holy
with my
Grail.
mom. That is not something she's ever asked me
Yeah.
to do. But
Yeah,
that's
a little.
that's our relationship.
Really?
And this is actually a great question because it's something that a conversation we have quite often here in the offices. TJ Fool says, "How do you feel about the G4 community choosing
Fool.
Skyward Sword to be in the finals of the death match? I've played most of those games, and there's no way it should be in the finals."
It shouldn't. It shouldn't be in the finals.
I mean,
I'll
and
tell you that.
this is a great example of everybody having such a different opinion on things,
Completely.
but like we said, to Nintendo's credit, when their fans want something, they will be so vocal about it. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate as to how this game got in the finals. But if you put a gun to my head, I'd say that about 1,000 Nintendo fans made
Gun to your head.
3,000 accounts
Yeah.
apiece and voted for Skyward
Skyward
Sword.
Sword.
And it's not to say that it's not a great
Yeah,
game.
no.
It's just not
Not
one of the 2 best games
games.
of the year.
Thank you.
I mean, and there's so many other ones out there. I mean, what do you
think,
guys think?
I think people are just very passionate about the game, and it is one of those games that, you remember Zelda, you freaking love Zelda, and sometimes it is tough to get your favorite game. Like, because I remember going through, like, when we're deciding Game of the Year awards, best RPGs. Like, we had the same thing. Like, we went over to people's desk and be like, "So, what are you voting for?" Yeah, that's not good enough. You should vote for this. And I
Yeah.
have a feeling, like, if your game has the chance to take it home. I mean, like Zelda beat Skyrim
Yeah.
during the. I mean that is insane, but I think it just shows how passionate people can be for video games. And
Yeah.
even though it sounds ludicrous to us, like I think there are enough people out there like it should be. It should be the game of the year. They're probably distraught that we don't have it as game of the year.
Right. And do you guys think that, and I know we've talked about this too, you know how it's like sometimes people that don't have an opinion of something, in order for them to feel like they're fully participating in the conversation, they're just contentious about whatever it is that you've chosen as your stance on things. I feel like it's also a case of like you said, oh, G4 didn't include it? Well, I'm definitely going to make it my game of the year. I'm just,
Completely.
you guys, like,
completely.
I didn't even play it, but I'm definitely voting for it. I mean, do you feel like that has something to do with this?
That
Well, you
could-
guys monitor the website
But
and a lot of the
I think it has
conversation.
more to do with the just fierce loyalty that Nintendo has born in people by being the games that they remember playing when they're kids. And then they get a little older and they're like, oh, Nintendo's got to win. It's Nintendo, dude.
Right.
It is Nintendo.
I kind of feel like it's like, I grew up with Zelda, and it's like a brother to me. And when I see my brother competing, I root for it.
Right.
I root for my brother. I say, you know what, Zelda, you can do it. I didn't see what you did, but I'm rooting for you, right? And I think that's how people are kind of taking it as like, oh yeah, I know Zelda. He's my son. I'm gonna root for my son in Skyrim. I don't know him. Get away. My son's the best. Like you know how parents are, right?
Man, you
Am
made
I
a lot
right?
of weird family connections just now that I
going
can't
on?
say
Wait
that
a
I
minute.
really follow.
Wait a minute. Zelda's the girl. Link is the boy.
Oh
Also, Zelda not black. I don't know how you're making all of these connections. Blackface Jeff Keighley. I just don't understand it. But I
Black
agree with you,
Zach.
man.
No.
It's totally true. I mean, personally, I know that I've gone back and replayed games that have come out in recent years and thought to myself, man, that's just not as good as the first time I played that game. But I just love that company so much and everything they did in my childhood that, this is
gotta root for
what
him.
I have to stick by.
Yeah, when your sole commitment to it is just clicking a box on a website, what do you care about? You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like everybody who's reading the site is like making these really well informed decisions.
Right.
It's like, oh, Zelda.
Right. But either way, it was what you guys chose, and we stand
Yeah,
by
we
that
totally respect that.
decision.
It's
So,
awesome and surprising.
Yeah,
We
you guys
love
are
it.
awesome.
From a
No,
story
it's just
standpoint,
so
people,
great.
it's
It is
people
kinda cool.
finally
You're like
coming
the coolest
together.
person I know.
Getting this crowd, and it's just like
You guys just
celebrating video games. Why? Let's applaud them for that. Like celebrating their favorite video game, and coming out against like insurmountable odds to make Zelda the winner.
Yeah. You guys just occupied G4TV.com.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Well done, everybody.
Solidarity.
Well
Come
done.
on, my
you
brothers.
get what you want.
Wait, I'm in the 1%. Hold on. I didn't sign up for this.
Wait a minute.
And then
Get out of here, you hippies.
Does that mean that you take down their tents now?
no.
Oh man,
We like those tints though,
they're
because we
pretty
work
nice.
such hard, long hours here that we need a place to sleep at night.
Yeah,
And then just quickly before we wrap up, the last question, and this is just your immediate thoughts on it. Kid Sonic says, with all these games releasing so close to each other, do you feel that the recession might be affecting their sales? If not, does that mean the video game industry is recession-proof? Number one, sales really didn't look all that affected this year, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, the recession didn't affect it. And I will say this, in the past couple years, we have seen a growth in the video game industry. So on a fundamental level, it seems that, yes, video games are recession-proof. And that's my quick opinion on it. I don't know the data, and maybe it's just because things are better, or I haven't put all the math together, but it just seems like there are two things. My best friend runs a liquor company, and their company has grown over the past 2 years, and video games have grown over the past 2 years. So it looks like there are a couple things that people are doing when they're not working, and that's drinking and playing video games. And that's my thought.
Boom.
God bless America.
That's
There
what
it
I
is.
do.
Yeah. But your thought on that?
I don't think it's recession proof. I think right now we're on, of course, the rise and everything's looking great for us, but for me personally, I just think nothing's proof. Like you can't be like, it will never fail. We're on top of the world. It's like, no, Rome fell. And that was a pretty long time, but it still fell. And that's what I feel like. Video games can still fall. I mean, as it gets higher and higher and more expensive to create these games,
Right.
it's gonna drop when your game doesn't do well. And companies do. I mean, we've seen companies go
We've
out of
seen-
business.
We've seen many
Brands
studios like just fall because
they didn't produce the games that the mass bought. So.
either they made a game and it didn't do well, or you know, somewhere halfway into the cycle, you know, a larger publishing company was like, you know what, this just isn't working for us. And
There's also all the other factors with the recession that don't have to do with how well the games sell. Like, I mean, this is really boring, but like fluctuations in monetary, fluctuations in markets and things like that.
Oh, he's
you know?
breaking out
No,
the
but
monocle.
But those things really do affect companies. Like, if there's a big discrepancy in the worth of the yen versus the dollar, I mean, that affects what's going on with Nintendo and Sony because they're Japanese guys. It's boring, but nothing's recession.
But not boring for you, Steven.
Yeah, not
Right.
boring for me. I mean, that's how I made my money, is understanding those fluctuations in the markets
Right.
and taking advantage of them with an iron fist. And I
Right.
crushed people like you.
Wow.
I buy and sell you.
That was incredibly aggressive.
but
I
I-
liked all of it.
But I think the thing is, like, nothing's
getting hotter.
recession proof, but video games are doing stellar. It seems like we're getting
Sure.
more and more video games coming out. And, like, once again, like, this year has been, like, one of the biggest top selling video games of all time.
I guess if I could retract my earlier statement and say something else, I just say that it seems like even though people seem to have less disposable income, they're still choosing to spend that money on video games.
Indeed.
And
Right.
that may continue to happen. You know, it seems like because games are so great and they are such an escapist thing to
Right.
do.
Yeah, same with
that-
like the movies. Like movies, like it's just we need to escape reality because it's so depressing and my life sucks.
And that's,
sorry, buddy.
And that's
Sorry,
why.
I'm so
you know,
sorry.
and-
Is that why booze in a video game sells so well?
Yeah.
And now I know what I'm getting you for Christmas: booze and a video game. That'll make everything better.
Thanks,
Guys,
Blair.
before we, you're welcome. Before we go, just quickly, something that you guys are working on now, or maybe something that you're looking forward to working on in 2012 that people can look forward to seeing from you.
I don't have anything for 2012, but I do have something for right now.
Okay, what is that?
What is it?
The best gaming moments of 2011. Yes, we look back
Ooh-wee.
at the best gaming moments from the Dead Island trailer, which made us cry and made us or hate kids, or I don't know, the other way around.
Yeah.
But,
family vacations.
You can definitely check that out by going to g4tv.com/best of 2011. It has a collection of all of our best of, but that particular video you want to check out. It's
Okay.
created by me, so it's good. And I also like to promote myself, Donnell Tucker, a.k.a. Donnie Diablo, a.k.a. Blackface Keeley, the one and only, just to, get a little personal time with the viewers, to say that you can email me at Donnell@g4tv.com for any tips, news, funny videos, especially ladies over 18 and older. You can definitely, just say what's up. Maybe you can be my player too. You never know, right? Hi.
Wow.
Yeah. You're welcome.
How are you going to follow that sexy plea, Steve Johnson?
Well, I post articles at G4TV. You can see my stuff at g4tv.com/the feed, and I will be repossessing other millionaires and billionaires' yachts and reselling them to even richer oil sheiks throughout the year.
All right.
Oh gosh. What have I got?
Come on, Rob, do it!
I will be as always talking about indie games. Of course. What? That's what I do. What do you want?
Yes, mine's the best.
Talking about indie games. I'll also be posting probably the games to watch for next year, like Fez, Journey, The Witness. Next year I think is going to be even a bigger year for indie games as they finally come out.
Right. Look, it's not a competition, but Donnell, you won.
It's
Yes.
true.
Thank you.
I'm not going to even go. It's not even a comp. I lost.
That's really good.
I brought sexy back.
No, you did. Well, I don't know if that's the case, but
brought-
you did something. You brought something back.
You
to
brought
this
sexy
table.
back, and then you
Hepatitis,
took it into the
maybe,
back room.
yeah.
You might have to go to see that doctor for that.
Yeah. Well, even with that, thank you guys all for being here. As usual, I appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching. And thank you to Astro for these sweet branded faceplates that we have
It looks so cool.
right here. Yeah, these aren't stickers. It's not coming off. So I can't take it home with me.
How did we get nice things?
No, we can't keep them though. That's the problem. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can catch new episodes of Feedback every week at g4tv.com/feedback. Enjoy your New Year celebration. Don't do anything that Donnell will do, because clearly he's going to do some weird.
Oh, yeah.